Who here likes the feel-good sermons? Less hands than I expected. This isn't one of those. Sorry. One of the problems that I find a lot in church is we don't want to offend anybody. We don't want to push anybody out, and we don't want to require anything of anybody. And by doing that, we do a disservice. Our faith is countercultural. Our faith is to call people away from those things that are supposed to help us to lead the world in the right ways, to find peace in God, and to build that relationship. Now, that being said, I am never going to walk up to you and go, "Really? That's what you think Bible study is? Excuse me, but you're not here often enough." I wouldn't do that. I'm not here to push people out. But there are some things we don't do that hurt us. When we look at culture and what culture is doing and where God calls us to change, it's not about me changing you, but about how we will change ourselves. And Lent is one of those times in which we are called to be countercultural. We're called to give up, to let go of things that stop this relationship from happening, that keep us from being the loving individuals we have. Anybody else here have anger issues? Guilt? Anybody hurting? Anybody here struggling to find love for a brother or sister, a neighbor, an enemy? These were all things we're called to. And Jesus leaves us an example of how to go on the journey and find hope. And have hope for this Lenten journey. But I have bad news for you. It means you have to do something. If you're waiting here for somebody to walk up with a magic wand and go, and your halo will be straight on top of your horns, right? All balanced, polished up, it's never going to happen. You have to do something in order for the change to happen. So we have the story of Jesus today that follows the transfiguration. So last week we went up the mountain. We saw Jesus transfigured, transformed right before our eyes. We got to see a truth of him being God's Son. And God ends that with, listen to him. I'm going to push it one step further. Don't just listen, watch. Watch what now happens as Jesus is driven out into the desert. As he's being tempted. And you need to hear it from where you're sitting. Not as an old story, but from right where you're at. So Jesus gets out there. What's the first thing he does? He fasts for 40 days and 40 nights. Now, there's an important part here. Where is Jesus? Is he in the middle of Jerusalem? Is he even in Bethlehem or Nazareth? No, he's out in the middle of nowhere. He is away from everything that is going to distract him as far as culture goes. He has stepped away from everything the world is telling him in order to prepare himself for this journey of ministry he's going to go on. And he gets to the end, and he's ready to go. But he's got to take this journey first. So first things first, he has to let go of what culture is telling him. Anything we need to let go of in this culture? I don't have mine on me, but everybody hold up their cell phones. How many times do you see this? I just had this happen to me. I had a person in New Richmond step out, not at a crosswalk, but in the middle of the road, step out doing this. down the main drain. It's 45 miles an hour at this point, and he just stepped out with me 20 feet away from his vehicle. Was he paying attention to anything? No. Stuck here. There's some cultural things we could probably let go of, right? Anybody have the problem I've got? It's bedtime and you just watch one more episode on Netflix. And then 5 o'clock rolls around, you're going, why did I do that? Oh, I'm so tired. Anybody carrying a little extra weight because they stop off to eat? The meal that they receive at the restaurant is big enough for 4 people? You ever notice they keep raising the price? They make it bigger, but they raise the price, but they make it bigger, but they make... Do we need all the extra? Could we let go? So Jesus has let go of culture. And now he has to start building that relationship of hope. And Satan shows up to tempt him. And what's the first thing that Satan tempts him with? Anybody? Turning the stones into bread. Having his basic needs met. Now, I'm guessing that most of us don't have too much problem with having our basic needs met. Right? Anybody going to be without shelter tonight? Food? Worried about being here and as they walk out the door being arrested because they showed up to worship? Satan says, if you're the Son of God, turn these stones into loaves of bread. What's Jesus' response? Humanity does not live by bread alone, but on the very word of God. He turns to the spiritual. He lets go of what the world is telling you, because the world tells me you need more, right? You want to supersize that? Would you like it large, or small, medium, or large? It's only 50 cents more for the large. I better get my money's worth, right? You ever go out and try and eat healthy? It costs you 10 times more to eat healthy than it does to eat garbage. Do you think we got some things messed up? Something we need to let go of? Is that money really all that important? Are you taking it with you? It's nice to have, isn't it? Anybody here ever been dirt poor? Rock bottom? Trying to figure out where you're going to get what you want? I love you too, but I know better. You guys have never had weenie water soup. Yeah, ask Grandpa when you go home. He'll explain it to you. We need to let go and start having faith that God is going to meet our basic needs. One of the most interesting things that happened to me at the first church I ever served was I walked into a contract of $8,000 a year. When's the last time any of you lived on $8,000 a year? 70? 71? Right? $8,000 a year, but I had a home. We paid for the house and the roof over my head. And the most interesting thing that happened is every time the fridge got a little empty and the freezer was starting to hit the bottom, somehow or other somebody butchered a pig, butchered a cow. It was harvest season. I can't tell you how many canned beans and frozen beans I've eaten in the years. And God love you all? I don't eat so much. And that comes by the boat. Just can't get it down. The rest of the family does, but this boy doesn't do it. But it always showed up. I never had to worry about food on the table. They understood the basic needs that needed to be met for the neighbors. And they watched. Somehow they always knew when my fridge was getting empty. And it's not that I walked up in the morning and did Sunday and all and say, Pastor's eating mac and cheese and ramen for the next week. It just showed up. God took care of it. But to step out and trust that God's going to meet our basic needs if we do the things we need to do and step against culture is difficult, isn't it? It's hard not to make sure you put a little bit extra away just in case. That's exactly what Jesus is calling us to do in his action. To take away the world and to listen to the truth of God, which we'll get to. But now there's a second temptation. Jesus is there. Satan takes him to the middle of the holy city, to the pinnacle of the temple. He says, if you're the Son of God, throw yourself down from here, because it's written, God will protect you. He heard what Jesus said, and he realized Jesus had faith in God. But now he's going to test that faith. How far are you willing to push it? Are you willing to, risk your life for it? What is Jesus' response from the top of the temple? It is written, do not tempt the Lord your God. So we have this idea if we have to have faith, and he's worried about his basic needs, now Satan tests not only his faith, but his long-term needs, his lifelong needs. Does God really have your best interest in mind? Kind of reminds you of that story right at the beginning, right? Did God really say you'd die if you ate the apple? Can we have the faith that God has our best interest in mind? That we don't have to somehow figure out a better way of doing it? How many people are tired of the new and improved things that are out there? It's always something new and improved, right? It's gotten to the point where we don't even have to turn a key anymore for our car. Right? In fact, we don't even have to go to the car and start the car, do we? I've been sitting in meetings and had people sitting at the table and all of a sudden hear a car start out in the parking lot because they just hit a button. So it's nice and cozy and warm. What other things are we new and improving ourselves out of existence on? How often is there something new that's just going to fix everything? You see it all the time, right? It's advertised on TV. Have your faith bolstered for just 3 payments of $19.95. We'll fix you. Just buy my book. It'll tell you in 12 easy steps how to fix everything that's wrong with you. Oh, by the way, there's shipping and handling on all this stuff, which is usually 10 times more than what it costs you to get it, right? When's the last time God sent you a bill? If you don't have one of these in your house and you'd like to read this basic instruction manual, come see Pastor. I'll get you one for free. Because there's a lot of really good advice in here. On diet, on exercise, on how to love one another. There's a lot of really great stuff in here. And guess what? It's not 12 easy steps, but a lifelong process. Because what's the one thing everybody here who's ever gone on a diet knows? Well, you're on a diet and working out? Oh, wow. What happens 4 weeks after you stop that diet? You stop exercising, you stop dieting, and suddenly you start taking that pill that's going to take 40 pounds off in one day. It only cost you $100 a pill, but boy, it was worth it. And you gained 60 back. And then you find out, the reason it didn't work so well is it made your body do something it shouldn't have done, and now you've ruined something else. You have faith that God created the world in such a way that it was good enough. That God is actually watching over you and hears your prayers. That you don't have to have the new and improved. in order to be okay. God gave you everything you needed from the start and watches. Now, does that mean everything's going to be great? Never any hardships, right? Everything's going to be happy for you. No. Because I have no idea what Kathy's going to do. Kathy might do something that's really going to hurt me. It may be completely unintentional. Or maybe not. Things are going to happen. We live in a broken world. And if you're countercultural, well, we need to look at the story of Jesus a little closer, don't we? Because it wasn't always, chocolate and roses for Jesus. There were some things that happened. But he's tempted a third time now. He's had his basic needs questioned. Can you trust God with your basic needs? He's had his life questioned. Can you trust God with your life? Now what happens? Satan takes him to the top of the mountain. And I need to take a time out here. Because there's two stories we've heard of going up the mountain, right? We heard last week where Peter, James, and John are led by Jesus up the mountain. Everything that's happening in this story is meant to sound instantaneous. And you need to understand that piece to it, because that's the piece that becomes really important. Because what he's about to tempt Jesus with isn't just about power. Is power itself evil? No. Satan is offering him a shortcut. Takes him up to the top of the mountain, shows him everything, which, by the way, Jesus already has the power. And I dare say, so do you. You have the power to take control of your own life by giving up that control, by letting go of all those things that you don't need and you micromanage. Anybody here go to WebMD a lot? Wikipedia? You Google what's wrong with you? You made the mistake of actually Googling the procedure you're about to have and watch the video? Nobody here has ever done that. You hear the commercial that says, our new drug will fix this, this, and this. Just get our brochure on how to talk to your doctor about it. By the way, the side effects are usually worse than whatever it's fixing. And you walk in, you look at the doc and say, I am absolutely positive, doc, I have ovarian cancer. I have all the symptoms of it. I must have it. I read online, it told me, if you have pain here, and it lasts more than 3 days, and you got a bulge, well, I must. Because I read it online. And it can't be false if it's online. It was on Wikipedia. It was on WebMD. Of course, there are a few other symptoms and things that have to happen, right? Like I would have to not be male. He's giving Jesus a shortcut to the power. He looks at Jesus, he takes him up to the top of the mountain. There's no journey. He's just there. Shows him everything and says, I will give you all this and more if you'll just worship me. Kind of sounds like a certain city out east, doesn't it? I'll give you everything you need if you'll just worship me. Have you heard those commercials lately? They're inundating the radio and TV. I'll give you everything you need. All you got to do is give me everything you've got. Trust only in me. Place all your trust in me. And what does Jesus say to Satan? What are his words this morning? Get behind me. And Satan leaves. And what happens? The angels come. The angels take it. All those things that God had promised come true. Now, mind you, Jesus has gone 40 days without food and water. He's had to go through all the temptations we've gone through. Right? And he's had to stay strong and go away from culture. He's had to endure things and is going to endure things that none of us want to endure. And I hear what a lot of you are saying. It's really easy to do that, isn't it, Brenda? I mean, if I had the powers that Jesus had, I could actually turn the stones into loaves. Then it's easy to say no to Satan, isn't it? I can do that whenever I want. And, I could throw myself down, but I actually knew God as Jesus. So I know God's going to take care of me. And if I know it, if I didn't have the questions that all of us have, it would be easier, wouldn't it? And if I had all that power to start with, wouldn't it be easier to say no when somebody offers you a shortcut to power? But I ask you, would it have been easier? You also know what's coming. Would it have been easier to know that all your friends were going to deny you? That every time you went into town and gave a message, they were going to call you a false prophet and a kook? That every place you went, they'd want you to do for them and take from you? But they'd go away? Would it have been easier knowing what was coming and that you were going to have to endure all the pain of going to the cross and dying? Would it have been easier? Wouldn't it have been easier for Jesus to look at God and go, excuse me, you want me to do what? And they're not going to listen. They're going to stay the way they were? Why? But Jesus calls us to be countercultural. He still does it. And I want you to understand, Jesus gave up all that power, all that comfort, to not know pain, to know complete and utter love, to have the power to do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. He gave that up to become this. This pudgy little pink thing called a human. To endure and realize what it was like to be tempted like we were tempted. To feel pain like we feel pain. To have relationships that become broken. And know the pain of having your heart broken by those you love most. He chose to do that in order to be the example for us. So there's truths that Jesus held to. And I want to use Psalm 32 to help you guys understand what that means. Because Psalm 32 is a beautiful psalm. It starts out with those first few passages. Happy are those whose sin is covered, whose transgression is forgiven. Happy are those in whom the Lord imputes no iniquity and finds no deceit. Okay, anybody here sinless? If God did an accounting of you right now, would there be a little bit that you had to account for? Right? It's right-sizing us. We are given grace by God. That's the promise. There is grace and there's forgiveness. And he starts to talk about that in the next few passages. How we're all in the same boat. But there's that grace and forgiveness. And you hear the hope that begins to come out of that. Let me ask a question. If you knew you weren't going to get in trouble today, for all that stuff you did yesterday that mom and dad don't know about yet, would it be easier to go home? No? It'd be a lot easier for me to go home to my wife if I knew that she was going to forgive me right off the bat and I didn't have to question it. No? Wow. You're sitting on your grandma's protection, that's why. I got good news for you. God's a lot like grandma. God will protect. God gives us that. And then he turns to a peace, and this is the part we don't like very much. While I kept silence, my body wasted away, as by the heat of summer, for your hand was heavy upon me. You ever feel like that, folks? Feel that guilt and feel like you're just weighed down? Have absolutely no energy? Well, I hid my iniquities Anybody here ever done that? God didn't see that one, right? I got away with that. As long as my wife doesn't know what I did, that I had that extra apple pie last night, I'll be okay. The meter's going to know, but she won't. But that guilt is there. And how does he get rid of it? Then I said, I will confess my sin. I acknowledge my transgression. I spoke out loud what it was that was weighing on me. And that's all lifted. We've all been there before, right? When true forgiveness happens. I remember being 16 and hiding for the longest time what I was doing. And all of a sudden my dad walked up to me one day and goes, kid, I've known him for a long time. I just haven't said it. Suddenly I didn't have to hide that anymore. It didn't mean Dad didn't look at me and go, by the way, you're going to stop. But it's let loose. You voice it, it's out there, it's open, not hidden, and it's raised up. But now comes the part that we really don't like. Do not be like the horse and mule who are stubborn and must have a bit and bridle put in their mouth in order to stay with you. How many mules do I have in the room? Raise your hands, folks. I've watched you. Most of you are looking at this sermon going, oh no, I don't like this. God will instruct us in this. God will call us away from culture, but give us all of what we need in order to lead forward. Jesus left that example. Many are the torments of the wicked. Who are the wicked? Listen to the next line. The joy-filled are those who follow me. You don't have to be perfect. You can make mistakes. You're forgiven. You got to try to change it. So if you ask Mom on the way home, okay, don't tell me, don't, you're a little girl. I had it. Just ask Mom on the way home and she forgives you. The trick is to not do it later, right? Doesn't work very well, does it? Hard to set it up. Something said. God gives us the chance to stand countercultural, to take this journey and to do it not by ourselves, but with everyone that's here. But I don't have enough bridles, folks. I don't have enough rope. And I could drag you down this journey for the next 20 years, and it's not going to get you. You have to make a choice. You have to be able to see the hope of what's to come. Because we know the rest of the story. We know what God is about to do. And yet we still don't come willing to do it. We still fight it tooth and nail. God said, love your neighbor. Well, I'll love this one, but I don't know about that one. And I'm definitely not loving this one because this one has all the things I want and I don't get. Right? He's got height, he's got strength, he's got health, he's got all the things I want. But I get to get home every night. God gives me what I need. Gives him what he needs. Gives you what you need for your basic existence. He simply looks at me and says, listen. The message of the Bible is not comfortable because it goes against what culture says. It's not more, but give. It's not fight, but love. It's not about me, but about God. And the beauty of that is God turns around and gives that right back to those who are in need. So take the journey. Stop waiting for somebody to grab the bridle and drag you along. Listen to Christ. Follow him to the cross. And let yourself be changed and transformed. Especially in this season. All God wants to do is love you. Well, we've all been there before, right? That girl that we thought was going to be the one that didn't like us, and we chased. That child that goes through the teen years and you're just absolutely certain you're not going to make it to 18. That brother or sister who just constantly does things that irritate and hurt. And yet God puts people in your lives who love, who care, who cherish. Come take the journey. Find hope for it and where God is calling.